Alright, let's break this down for the folks in the back who keep calling me crazy. And I mean the very back. The people who are so far back they can't even see the whiteboard. I'm going to explain this in elementary school language today. Not because I enjoy it, but because the comment section has made it very clear that some of you need it. No judgment. Well, a little judgment. But mostly I just want you to understand, because ignorance is curable and I'm feeling generous. So grab a juice box, sit crisscross applesauce, and pay attention because I'm only going to explain this 100 more times before I give up on you entirely. This is not a theory. I want to be very clear about that before we even start. A theory is something you guess at. What I'm about to show you is something you can verify, with dates, with history books, with a basic Google search that takes less time than it took you to type "you're reaching bro" in my comments. So let's go. Point 1, the dates. And yes, we're starting here because apparently dates are hard. The HillBillies music video dropped on YouTube on May 30th. Then, and this is important, so I need the slow ones to highlight this in their notes, they waited. They did not immediately release it on streaming platforms. They held it, deliberately, strategically, and then they dropped it on all streaming platforms on June 5th. Now, some of you saw those two dates and thought, okay, so what? And that reaction tells me everything I need to know about your relationship with history class. Because those two dates are not random. Those two dates are a declaration. And I'm going to prove it to you right now in the simplest language I can possibly use without actually drawing you a picture. Although honestly, at this point, I'm considering the picture. Point 2, May 30th. The date that should have ended the debate immediately. May 30th, 1942, the British Royal Air Force launches the first ever 1,000 bomber raid. Over 1,000 planes, 1,000 tons of bombs, all targeting one city, Cologne, Germany.
Cologne, Germany. Cologne, Germany? What?
On this day, May 30th in 1942, the raid on Cologne took place, carried out by the British Royal Air Force during World War II. It was part of the 1,000 bomber offensive, which aimed to saturate enemy defenses and industrial targets.
It is one of the single most significant airstrikes in all of World War II, not just because of the destruction, but because of what it represented. It was the first time the Allies said, loudly, clearly, and with 1,000 aircraft, "We are coming for you." The war just changed. The scale just changed. Everything just changed. Now, what does Kendrick do on May 30th, 2024? He drops the HillBillies. And what does he say in that song? He says, "I don't buy much, I buy land, bro." And then, almost immediately, Cologne, Germany. Let me say that again for the people who are still chewing their crayons in the back. Kendrick drops a song on the exact anniversary of the Cologne bombing, and inside that song, he says the word Cologne. Out of every city in the world, every city in Europe, every city in Germany, he says Cologne on May 30th, the day Cologne got bombed in 1942. That is not a coincidence. That is a clue. That is a man leaving breadcrumbs for the people who are actually paying attention. And the people calling it a reach, you're not even in the forest. You're at home, inside, refusing to look out the window. That's embarrassing on its own. But land is also territory. Land is what you bomb. Land is what you occupy. Land is what wars are fought over for centuries. Kendrick isn't just saying he's smarter with money. He's saying he's claiming territory. He's saying the ground belongs to him now. If you heard "I buy land" and thought it was just about real estate, congratulations, you missed the entire first chapter of the war. Point 3, June 5th, the date that locks the whole thing shut. June 5th, 1945, the Berlin Declaration, issued by the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and France, the four victorious Allied powers, after Germany's total and complete defeat. The full title was Declaration Regarding the Defeat of Germany, and what it said was essentially this: Germany is finished. The Nazi government no longer exists. There is no functioning central authority. We, the Allies, are now in charge. Germany will be divided into 4 occupation zones, and we will decide what happens next. Legally, formally, and permanently, Nazi Germany ceased to exist on June 5th, 1945. Now, Kendrick and Keem released the HillBillies to every major streaming platform on June 5th. Not June 4th, not June 6th, June 5th. And some of you, and I mean this with the most elementary school energy I can muster, some of you looked at that date and still said, reach. You know what that tells me?
Much I buy land, bro.
I don't buy much, I buy land, bro.
Cologne, Germany.
Cologne, Germany? What?
On this day, May 30th in 1942. The raid on Cologne took place,
Cologne, Germany.
carried out by the British Royal Air Force
Girls damn near want a veteran. Girls damn near want a veteran.
during World War II.
Yeah, niggas know that I'm best. Dressed with Martine when I board jets. They
The target of 1,000 bombers arriving simultaneously.
It's 1,000 hers out waiting. We gon'
On Cologne, making it one of the largest bombing operations of its time.
big protein. 150 grams of protein. Y'all gotta stop playing, bro.
Today in history, May 7th, 1945,
Girl, 5'7", I'm messy, girl.
Nazi Germany signed its unconditional surrender. This momentous event took place in Reims, France.
7, I'm messy, girl. I'ma pass you to Neymar.
Russia celebrates Victory Day on May 9th, but the rest of the world doesn't. Why? May 8th, 1945, marked Victory in Europe Day, when Nazi Germany officially surrendered to the Allies, ending World War II in Europe. After years of brutal fighting, Germany was collapsing. The Allies were closing in from the west, and the Soviets were advancing from the east. With Hitler's death on April 30th, the Nazi regime was in chaos. On May 7th, Germany signed an unconditional surrender in Reims, France. But here's the twist. The surrender was signed late at night in Europe, already May 9th in Moscow. That's why the Soviet Union, and now Russia, celebrates Victory Day on May 9th. Subscribe for more.
We ain't wearing no Giuseppe jeans. We ain't
That tells me that World War II to you is just a phrase you've heard in movies. Because if you had any working knowledge of what happened on June 5th, 1945, you would not be able to type the word coincidence with a straight face. Kendrick waited 6 days after the YouTube drop to release on streaming. 6 deliberate days. And he landed on June 5th, the exact date the Allies signed the paper that said Germany is over. That's not a rollout strategy. That's a timestamp. That's a signature. That's Kendrick and Keem saying, the war is won, the declaration has been signed, and we are now the occupying force. If you still want to call that a reach, I genuinely need you to explain what evidence looks like to you. Because this comes with a date, a document, and 79 years of historical record backing it up. Point 4, the music video, which apparently some of you watch with your eyes closed. Now, for the slowest ones in the back, and I say that with love, truly, I want you to succeed. Let's talk about the music video. Because the bars alone should have been enough. The dates alone should have been enough. But Kendrick and Keem were so generous, so considerate of the people who struggle with reading comprehension that they put the whole thing in the visuals too. They literally showed you the war. In the video, with images, moving ones. When baby Keem says, I'm ducked off from the world, I ain't worried about her, there's 1,000 of her waiting.
I ain't worried about her. It's 1,000 hers out waiting.
We gon' fuck up the world.
He points to the sky, just casually, just lifts his finger and points straight up. In the very next shot, a plane flying over London. A plane over London, immediately after the lyric, immediately after the sky point. And you want to tell me that's random? You want to tell me the director of that video just happened to cut to a plane over London at that exact moment because it looked nice? That the cinematography team, working on a Kendrick Lamar project, one of the most detail-obsessed artists in the history of the genre, just grabbed a stock footage clip of a plane and threw it in? No, that's the 1,000 bomber raid. That's the Royal Air Force. That's May 30th, 1942, visualized in a music video. It is not subtle. It is not hidden. It is on the screen in front of your face for anyone who bothered to watch with their brain turned on. And then, because they love you and want you to get it, the very next clip is a picture of a plane with a compass underneath it, pointing east. A compass pointing east. Where is Germany from Britain? East. Where did the bombers fly? east.
Minutes later, by midnight, 1,047 British bombers are in the air over England, forming up in the darkness, turning east toward Germany. Their target is the city of Cologne, Germany's third largest city, population 700,000, sitting on the west bank of the Rhine with its famous cathedral rising above the rooftops. In 90 minutes, Cologne will become something that no city in the history of warfare has ever been before, the target of 1,000 bombers arriving simultaneously. And the German High Command, which has been dismissing RAF Bomber Command as an ineffective nuisance for 2 years, is about to understand that something has changed. To understand what Arthur Harris was trying to do on the night of May 30th, 1942, you have to understand the position he was in when he took command of Bomber Command 4 months earlier, in February of that year. Britain in early 1942 was in a desperate situation that its public was only partially aware of. The American entry into the war after Pearl Harbor had changed the strategic picture in important ways, but American forces would take months, possibly years, to build up in sufficient strength to matter on the European battlefield. The Soviet Union was absorbing the main weight of the German land offensive, losing men and territory at a rate that strained comprehension, and was pressing the Western Allies constantly for a second front, a land invasion of Europe that Britain had neither the forces nor the landing craft to mount in 1942. In the meantime, Britain was fighting effectively alone in the West, and the only offensive weapon available for striking directly at Germany was the RAF. The bombing campaign that Bomber Command had been conducting since 1940 had been, by the honest assessment of the RAF's own analysts, largely ineffective. A survey conducted by a scientist named David Butt, analyzing hundreds of reconnaissance photographs taken after bombing raids, had revealed a finding so damaging that the Air Ministry initially suppressed it. Only 1 in 3 aircraft was dropping its bombs within 5 miles of the intended target.
What does a compass pointing east after a shot of a British plane mean? It means exactly what you think it means, and if you're still confused, I am running out of ways to help you. Point 5. The UK flag in the veteran line, which is so obvious it's almost rude. For the ones who need even more help, and you know who you are, you're the ones who commented, "This is all a coincidence," after reading 4 bullet points of historical evidence. Let's talk about this next sequence, because it might be the most on-the-nose moment in the entire video. When Keem says, "Damn near need a veteran girl,"
I'm not good with the regular girls. Damn near want a veteran girl.
the video cuts to him doing push-ups under a UK flag. I want you to sit with that for a second. Push-ups under the Union Jack while saying the word veteran. That is a British military reference so direct, so unambiguous, so neon sign obvious that I don't understand how anyone watched that and thought, yeah, that's just aesthetic. That is not aesthetic. That is a costume. That is Keem putting on the uniform of the country that led the Cologne bombing and saying, in case you missed every other clue in this video, we are the British. We are the Allies. We bombed Cologne. We won the war. And the flag isn't just there once. The British identity runs through the entire video like a thread. And speaking of threads, every single designer brand they shout out in the video is British. Not French, not Italian, not American, British. They are not just flexing fashion. Fashion in the Kendrick video is never just fashion. They are announcing an alliance. They are wearing a flag. They are telling you through the language of luxury brands which side of this war they are standing on. And if you watched that and thought they just like those brands, I genuinely, respectfully need you to sit this one out. The recap. For the people who skimmed, you know who you are. Let's go through this one more time, slowly, with feeling, because some of you need to hear it more than once. May 30th, 1942. The British Royal Air Force drops 1,000 bombs on Cologne, Germany in the first mass bombing raid of World War II. It is a turning point. It is a declaration. It is the moment the Allies say, "We are taking this war to your doorstep." Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem dropped the HillBillies on YouTube. In the song, Kendrick says Cologne, Germany, on the anniversary of the Cologne bombing.
You gotta talk to me different.
Cologne, Germany.
Cologne, Germany? What? Well, where did you get a old boy in it? Where'd you get this from?
If you see someone rolling around in a pristine old German car, just know that that's a flex because of how expensive it is going to be to fix all those parts once they start falling to shit.
Old McDonald's every time I land, bro. Big J Rocks in both hands, bro, and all that.
How many phones you got?
Nigga had like 20 phones in his hand.
On the anniversary of the Cologne bombing, with the city's name in the lyrics, June 5th, 1945, the Berlin Declaration is signed by the Allied powers. Germany is formally, legally, permanently defeated. The Nazi government is dissolved. The occupation begins. The war, officially, is over. June 5th, 2024. The HillBillies drops on all streaming platforms worldwide, 6 days after the YouTube release, on the exact date of the Berlin Declaration. The song goes everywhere. The occupation is complete. The music video features a plane flying over London, a compass pointing east toward Germany, Baby Keem doing push-ups under a UK flag while saying the word veteran, and an entire 5 layers of evidence, 5, across 2 dates, a set of lyrics, a music video, and a fashion selection. And you want to type reach in my comments? With which hand? The one that was asleep during history class, or the other one? Final thoughts. For the haters who made it this far, if you've watched this entire breakdown and you're still not convinced, I want to be honest with you. I don't think the problem is the evidence. I think the problem is that admitting you missed it requires a level of intellectual humility that some people just aren't ready for. And that's okay. Growth is uncomfortable. Realizing you called something crazy when it was actually meticulous and brilliant is an uncomfortable feeling. But it's a feeling that means you're learning. The people who comment crazy on videos like this aren't dumb. They just didn't look closely enough. And instead of saying, let me look again, they doubled down. Because doubling down feels stronger than admitting you missed something. But it's not stronger. It's just louder. Kendrick and Keem built a World War II declaration inside a Jersey Club song, hid it across 2 release dates, embedded it in the lyrics, visualized it in the music video, and dressed it in British fashion. They left the map, they left the dates, they left the flag literally on screen, and some of you still looked at all of that and said, "You're reaching." You're not skeptics, you're just not paying attention. And that's the real reach. Reaching for an excuse to dismiss something rather than doing the 10 minutes of work it takes to verify it. So before you comment crazy again, do yourself a favor. Look up the Cologne bombing. Look up the Berlin Declaration. Watch the video again with your full attention this time, and then ask yourself honestly, does this still look like a coincidence? Because in this game, the only thing crazier than seeing the war map is pretending it's not there. And the only thing more embarrassing than missing the war is watching somebody draw you a map, label every country, mark every date, point at every flag, and still saying you don't see it.